Hi Julian, it's Corey Gant with Gant Property Inspections. I've just finished doing the regular home inspection here on North Shasta, and it's a great house. A lot of house, it's just a nice house, and the seller, he's been here a lot of the time. He's gone now, but he's just explained the different things he's done over the years, and I don't even think well, I'm positive he doesn't want to sell the house. Just a situation he's in. He loves this house, and he's done everything like he would want it to be done. So it's a great house with a great view in a nice neighborhood. Of course, it's an older house. There's a few things we're going to talk about. Talk about some needed repairs or maintenance stuff in the coming future. So we'll talk about that. So I'm going to flip it around and just look at the house. Driveway and the house. And Dustin and I just did a walkthrough, and so he has good information. He can answer questions. After you read through the report, if you have more questions, I'll be happy to clarify the best I can with the information I have. The roof is a triple laminate, thick, like 40-year roof, but it is at the end of its age, or end of its life, I should say, especially on the south-facing roofs. You can make it, I think you can make it 3 years, maybe even more if it's really taken care of in a appropriate way. Sorry. These trees do drop needles on it, and they're kind of hard on a roof. And even right now, like around those skylights, there's piles of needles, and in the valley there's some piles of needles. That all should be cleaned off. And then the gutters, they have gutter covers on most of the gutters, but the needles are on top of those covers right now, so that all should be cleaned off. So when it rains next, which it might be a while because we do have really dry summers, the water will run appropriately down the roof, down the gutters, down the downspouts, and away from the house. We have long, wet winters, and so that's what we're dealing with. We want to deal with that moisture, keep it away from the house, so the paint or the stain on the walls and on the trim is really important to protect the wood of the siding, but also the underlying framing. Overall, this house siding seems to be in good condition. I believe it's a cedar lap siding. There's a couple places where there's going to be touch-ups, mostly on the south wall, which we'll walk over there in a minute. Before we do that, let's talk about windows. The windows have been updated. The seller told me about how he made several of these windows larger to get better views. And they're all updated vinyl windows in good condition. And in fact, they're so clean, it's hard to tell whether these were open or closed earlier. We were talking about that. We closed them up when we turned on the air conditioning. The decks, we can talk about those before we get around. There's basically 3 decks, or 4 if you count the front one. They are been taken care of nicely, and they have a fairly new stain applied to them. Again, in our wet winters, that stain or paint is really important because decks do rot pretty quick if you allow moisture to settle inside the wood. And so the stain or paint, I actually recommend that you restain it or repaint it every couple years. This beam here has been replaced just recently after the home inspection that the seller had. So they've replaced, he said, both beams. So those are new because there was some dry rot there. Before we go away from the backyard, nice view, but the garden down there is really nice. Really good tasting berries. One of the best strawberries I've ever had. Siding, which talk about any bare wood, it's kind of shaded there, but bare wood should be touched up. That again kind of absorb moisture and then can eventually rot, but it also feels solid here. This bottom board here at the far end is a little bit soft, and that could be for a couple reasons. One, this bark mulch is a little bit high and touches it, that it holds moisture, but also you have some moisture coming out of your dryer vent. So anyway, there's a little bit of moisture damage here, both to the trim and this last board. It's pretty soft. So anyway, we don't ever want soil or bark mulch up against your siding. This is pretty high, drops down there. It could be lowered a little bit, but that's causing the problem here. Also on this side, call these butt joints, and paint's peeling up, and I noticed one of them at least, some raw wood showing. So any loose paint should be scraped and then repainted. There's, I think I see a little loose paint on that one too. So anyway, that again, the loose paint becomes loose, and then you can get moisture behind it. So you want to take care of that. Air conditioner's running as it should. However, flip back around, it does have bark mulch up against it, which and it's dirty across there. So that should be cleaned and bark mulch lowered down. You don't want any dirt or bushes or flowers or anything growing around this. You want to keep it clean so clean air can go through it, because that's how it works. It pulls heat out of the air in the wintertime and pulls heat out of the inside air and pushes it out here in the summertime. Garage doors worked fine. They are older wood doors, but they seem to work as they should. I didn't see this before, but yeah, not too bad. Could be a little bit of loose paint. Right now it seems to be in good condition. I mean, it's not falling off. And then a little bit right here, this hose bib. A little bit of missing paint, a little bit of cracked paint. Again, that should be improved so that it doesn't cause problems in the future. Oh, I didn't talk about one thing. So underneath this front, where the kitchen is, it looks like it probably used to be a covered front porch, because it doesn't, the foundation ends on the other side of this